I think in life, we all have different strengths and advantages, and then also different challenges that we experience in different phases of our life. And so looking back, I have so many things that I'm so grateful for. But when I think about my challenges in this life, a big one has definitely been some of the relationships that I've been in with people in all kinds of different areas, because for a long time, I was just so used to accepting things that were so dysfunctional and unhealthy, and then they just turned into really difficult and painful situations. And it's made me who I am today. And sometimes I think in really great ways, because I am now so much more appreciative of the good relationships, because I know how different it can be. But then sometimes I think in not so great ways, because there are times where I still struggle with it, even though I have made sure that my life now looks so different. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, I wanted to talk about how to break the cycle of continuously attracting and enabling toxic people or toxic relationships in your life, as that has also been one of the main things that I have had to work on in my life over the last years. And you can apply all of this to romantic relationships, friendships, work environments, family, or whatever else, because for whatever reason, life has made me go through all of it at some point or the other. And so, yeah, there's a lot to talk about today. And I would say, let's get right into the conversation. So when you say, why do I keep attracting toxic people and toxic relationships in my life? I kind of think of it like this. As humans, we are magnets. And so whenever we connect with another person, it's because both people are being pulled to each other like two magnets. Both are giving each other something that the other one is looking for. And so if you keep meeting people who don't respect you, then the push and pull might be you have no boundaries and the other person is looking to control someone, and then boom, there you have your magnet. And so if you are continuously finding yourself in situations where you are meeting people who don't respect you and who don't care for you and where you don't feel good, then as hard as it is to look at that part within ourselves, that means that your internal magnet is also still a match to that in some way. And unless we figure that out, it's probably not going to change. And the internal magnet is things such as how you feel about yourself and what you allow and what you think you deserve and what you've experienced in your past and what your past has represented to you. And I think I didn't realize this until I experienced it myself, because I had gotten to a point where I had experienced so many of these kind of situations in so many different areas of my life. I was just used to that, but then eventually it just got so hard for me and the situations got so bad that I was like, I have to do something. Like, this has to change. I can no longer feel this way with people. I can no longer move through the world like this. I would literally rather never leave my house again and never talk to another person again than to ever feel this way about myself again. But at the same time, I just kind of thought, well, awareness is the key, like it's all about being aware. And I am now aware that this is not what I want anymore. And so I'm sure it cannot be that hard to just choose differently. Like, there are also so many amazing people in this world. I can just choose differently moving forward. It cannot be that hard. But the thing is, no matter how badly I wanted it, at that point, I had not looked at or changed my internal magnet, because the way I felt about myself and about what my past had represented to me was still the same. And so it was never gonna change regardless of how badly I wanted it. So, when you tell yourself, I am so done with toxic people and toxic relationships in my life, I've had it, moving forward, I am only choosing healthy and respectful and fun. That's the only thing that's going to be coming into my life. And then somehow, no matter how hard you try, every time you give something new a chance, you are always ending up in the same mess again. It's always the same shit show again. It's just dressed a little bit differently, disguised a little bit differently, but it's literally just the same thing again and again. And you're like, how did I not see this? How did I not catch on to this? But that's what happens when we don't heal and we're not willing to put in the work to really figure out what in us is also still attracted to that or pulling that towards us in some way. I had to go through a couple of those situations. And with a couple, I mean a lot of them, where I was really like, wow, it just doesn't stop, does it? Like, it just doesn't stop. Every time I thought, okay, it's not really possible to get more hurt or feel more disappointed than I feel right now. So I'm sure the future is going to look different. And every time I thought that, it was like the next thing again. That's when I realized, well, if it's not stopping, then the person who has to change is me. And that's when I started to say, okay, so this doesn't mean that everything that has happened in the past is my fault. And it also doesn't take away from the responsibility of the wrongs that were done by the people who I was involved with. And it also really doesn't take away any of the pain that all of that created within me. But at the same time, what? Like, there will always be shitty, dysfunctional people in this world who will take advantage of you if you don't become someone who's not willing to allow that. And so we can sit there and say, why always me? Why are people like this? Why do I keep getting hurt? And you can do that, but it's just going to continue. Or you can say, well, fuck it, no more. It's on me now to become someone who no longer has space to allow that in their life. I need to change. I need to heal. That's the only way it's actually going to change. I always say this, like, shitty people will probably continue to be shitty people. So you really don't want to sit around wasting your time waiting for them to maybe, hopefully change someday, because they might actually never change. You just want to become someone who doesn't even want them in your life in the first place. And I know it's not always easy, like, to see that the people who we connect with and spend time with and trust are a reflection of ourselves and how we feel about ourselves and our own internal state. That's not always an easy thing to face if a lot of the experiences that we've had have been very painful, because that can be very confusing. But I think it's a journey that is so worth going on, because once you start that journey, that's when real change can actually happen and you just start to experience life so differently. And I think once you do step into that new version of yourself who is recalibrating the magnet, really, then that old version of you will never come back again. And that's just so fun and so freeing and so joyful. And so the journey there is not always easy, but it is a journey that I think is so worth going on. So when we stay with this idea of the internal magnet and rather working on becoming people who show up differently with a different internal magnet rather than feeling like a victim of other people, I would say one mindset shift, one thing that you can work on that will instantly start to recalibrate your magnet away from those kind of situations is that you have to stop caring what other people think of you. If you don't stop caring what other people think of you, you will be a very easy target for people who don't have good intentions and people who don't want the best for you, because they will continuously make you feel like you are a bad person and you did this wrong and this is all your fault, and your fear of what others will think of you will keep you in the loop of continuously betraying yourself and overcompromising to keep them happy. And that really serves them. But in such a situation, their perception of you is not based in the reality anyways. And so it cannot matter to you. It should not matter to you. I had a situation once with someone where I just got to a point in the relationship with that person where I felt like the whole thing really felt very dysfunctional. I felt like I was in a lot of pain from things that had happened. And so I just kind of got to a breaking point and I was like, I can no longer sustain this because it seems to just not change. Like I have to walk away. There is no other option for me. But somehow at that point, I was still also much more driven by this fear of what other people were thinking of me. And so I was like, okay, even if I do walk out, I have to give like 150% of effort, make it okay for the other person and make sure that they don't feel hurt and that they understand, even though at that point there was so much that had happened. I had every right to just walk out and never say anything again. But my fear of other people was driving me to just like overcompensate. And so I ended up giving like 150% at the end to make it right. And I walked out being like, okay, well, at least this is calm because I have made this so okay. I'm sure there is just absolutely no way that this could turn to be anything differently. I've given 150%. I'm sure this is okay now. And then a couple of weeks later, and this was a great lesson for me, I heard that this person was telling people about why things broke apart and how they broke apart in a way that was not true at all. And it was kind of this narrative that I had just walked out without any explanation. And I remember just thinking, how is that even possible? But then I had to see, I have to be okay with that. I have to be okay with that because maybe this person is just completely lying and they know what happened, or maybe they have actually found a way in their mind to really look at that situation in that way. Like they maybe really believe that to be true. Either way, it doesn't matter because I had to realize that person was never going to see me for who I am anyways, because that version of me did not serve them and their story that they were creating. And so working against that is an impossible game, and actually also a game that you really don't want to waste your time with playing. Sometimes you really have to be okay with being the bad guy in someone else's story, because if someone wants to see you as the bad guy, you can literally give them $1 million cash right now in hand in this moment, and they will still find some way to continue that narrative. And that has to be okay, because your perception of who you are will be based on who you know you are. And at the end of the day, that is all that matters. For me personally, I think after all of the situations that I had in my life that felt like this, the one thing that really continued my desire to want to choose differently for myself is just to really say, you know what, at the end of the day, the most important relationship that I have is with myself and with God or the universe or life or whatever you want to call it. And at the end of the day, God knows what happened and God knows all the things that I did wrong, because nobody is perfect. And so life will continue to show me lessons that will make me grow in the ways that I have to. And I will continue to be shown the things that I also didn't do right, because I am open to see those things. But in no way do I need to prove myself to people and make it okay for people who don't want it to be okay, because they feed off of that story, because seeing you as how they want to see you allows them to not see themselves, and they are going to hold on to that for dear life because they don't want to see themselves. And in such a situation, that is really for them to figure out and for you to just let go, because that's freedom and that's peace. All right, everyone, that is all I wanted to share for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the episode, please make sure to like the video, comment down below, and make sure that you are subscribed if you aren't already. I will have all my links and my Instagram and everything linked down below. And yeah, all of your support, even if it is small, really helps for me to continue to create these episodes. Thank you so much. And I'm very much looking forward to connecting with you in my next episode.